Hello, my name is Gina. During a series of tutorials, I will lead you through the process of filling in the application form for a standard project in our monitoring system, GEMS. In this particular tutorial, I will show you how to fill in section C4 under the chapter, Project Description. Please be aware that these tutorial videos focus on the fields of the application form to be filled in or to be selected. They do not refer to overviews or those fields that are automatically generated by the system. Watching the tutorials does not substitute careful studying of the manuals of the program. Applicants are advised to read the manuals first and check the tutorials thereafter to get a practical insight into the system and the process of filling in the application form. Chapter C, Project Description, in the left-hand menu bar comprises all content-related details about your project. In this tutorial, we will focus on the work plan, with work packages including activities, deliverables and outputs. Navigate to the section C4 Project Work Plan on the left. In the main window, you can create a new work package by clicking on the Add New Work Package button. The numbering of the work packages goes automatically, and the created work package will appear below the Add New Work Package button. If you click on the row of the work package, you can define all necessary details: specific objective, communication objective, investments if relevant, activities and their deliverables within the particular work package, and finally the outputs. You should start your work on the Objectives tab, where at first you have to enter the work package title in maximum of 100 characters, in both German and Hungarian. Please, define the specific objective that will be achieved when all activities in this particular work package are implemented and all outputs are delivered. Although you have a space of up to 1,000 characters in both languages, please be clear and very focused. Formulate the specific objective in a short sentence. Use the rest of the space, if needed, for some additional explanation. In each work package, you also have to define the communication objective that will contribute to the achievement of the specific objective. Through the achievement of the communication objective, the knowledge, belief or behavior of your communication activities' target audience is aimed to change. Although you have up to 1,000 characters available for the communication objective in both German and Hungarian, please be clear and very focused. Formulate the communication objective in a short sentence. Use the rest of the space, if needed, for some additional explanation. Communication activities shall be specified among the regular activities on the Activities tab. In the case your project contains investment measures, you shall define and describe them on the Investment tab in the particular work package where the investment belongs. Navigate to the Investment tab and create a new investment by clicking on the Add Investment button. It may be important to clarify a common misunderstanding. Not only investments in infrastructure are included, related to the budget category Infrastructure and Works, but for example also the purchase of equipment with the aim to set up a service or a working environment can be considered as investment. Now you can enter all the necessary details of your investment, beginning with its title, up to 50 characters in both German and Hungarian. Select the expected delivery period for your investment from the drop-down. In order to do so, you have to define the project duration first. For that, watch the tutorial about project identification. The next step is to provide a solid justification of the need for your investment. You can write an explanation in 2,000 characters in both languages. Please, focus on the added value of the investment. Describe in the next text box the cross-border relevance of the investment, also in 2,000 characters in both languages. After you have underpinned the necessity and enlightened the relevance of your planned investment, you have to detail who benefits from it. For example, partners, regions, end users, etc., and in what way. The available space for this description is set in 2,000 characters, in both language versions. Investments should have a pilot nature or should have to be directly linked to a pilot action. For any pilot investment, please clarify which problem it tackles. Which findings do you expect from it? How can it be replicated? How will the experience coming from it be used for the benefit of the program area? Available space for this description is set in 2000 characters, both in German and Hungarian. You also have to enter the location of the physical investment. If possible, a specific address has to be entered, where the investment will be located. First, you have to select the country for the investment's location from a drop-down list. You can filter the list by starting to type the country name in the original language. When the country is selected, you have to select the NUTS 2-level region from another drop-down list. The same procedure shall be applied in the case of the NUTS 3 level. For Hungarian partners, this is the county level. The next fields, street, house number, postal code, and city, need to be filled in by typing in the relevant information. Concerning your planned investment, you have to describe its environmental sustainability and any risks associated with it, in up to 2000 characters, both in German and in Hungarian. In case of environmental risks, please describe the mitigation and monitoring measures foreseen. Please describe other risks associated with the investment, go, no-go decisions, etc. You also have to present the investment documentation. List all technical requirements and permissions, for example, building permits, required for the investment according to the respective national legislation. If these are already available, you have to attach them to this application form, otherwise indicate when you expect them to be available. This should happen until the signature of the subsidy contract, but not later than 6 months after the approval by the MC. Providing this description, the text space is set in 2000 characters, both in German and in Hungarian. For investments in infrastructure with an expected lifespan of at least 5 years, please summarize the expected impacts of climate change on the investment and how their assessment and climate proofing is ensured. You have 2000 characters for both the German and the Hungarian description. Do not forget that for such cases you should submit the proof that an assessment of expected impacts of climate change has been carried out, or if not, must be ensured that it will be documented until ERDF contracting, but not later than 6 months after the approval by the MC. As the last step of describing your investment, you have to provide information on the ownership, in up to 2000 characters in both languages. First, you have to state who owns the site where the investment is located. Then you have to explain who will retain ownership of the investment at the end of the project, also in up to 2000 characters in each language. Finally, you have to describe who will take care of the maintenance of the investment, and how this will be done. Available space for this description is set in 2000 characters, both in German and in Hungarian. Repeat these steps on the Investment tab for all planned investments. The process of creating the project's work plan continues on the Activities tab, where you shall add the activities and their deliverables by which the project achieves its objectives. Please note that every activity needs to have at least one deliverable. You can add a new activity by clicking the Add Activity button. When an activity is added, you have to enter its title in maximum of 200 characters, in both German and Hungarian. You are suggested to be clear and focused. A good activity title should not be more than a couple of words. To define the start and end of the activity, you don't need to specify exact dates. Instead, select the start and end periods from a drop-down lists. Describe the activity in not more than 3000 characters in both language versions. Select the partners which contribute to the implementation of the particular activity by clicking the Partners Involved field, where a list of the partners appears. You have to click on all partners that are involved in carrying out the activity. Having the activity thoroughly defined and described, by clicking the plus sign button below, you have to add deliverables to the activity. Remember that at least one deliverable needs to be added to each activity. Similarly to the activities, you have to name also your deliverables in a maximum of 100 characters space in both language versions. Deliverables are direct outcomes of the activities. As for the activity titles, please be clear and focused. A good deliverable title should not be more than a couple of words. For a more elaborate description of each deliverable, you have additional space to the right of the title, in up to 300 characters in each mutation. You also have to select the delivery period when the deliverable will be achieved. The relevant period can be picked from a drop-down list. Usually, you should not select a delivery period that is later than the end period of the related activity. Repeat these steps until all planned activities and their deliverables are added to the particular work package. In creating a work package, the last tab where you have to insert information is the Outputs tab. You can add a new output by clicking on the Add Output button. An output is the overarching outcome of activities linked to a work package. They are measured by program output indicators. You can name the created output in the Output title field where you have 200 characters available in both languages. Be specific, a good output title should not be long. It is also very important that the output you have just created must be in line with one of the program output indicators, which you shall select from the drop-down list below the title. Before choosing the indicator, please consult the indicator guide, available on the program website. The measurement unit field is filled in automatically by the system when you select the program output indicator. In the target value field, you have to type in the target value of your project's contribution. You also have to select the period when the target value of the output will be achieved. The relevant period can be picked from a drop-down list. Do not pick a delivery period that is later than the latest end of activity within the work package. Finally, you have to write a description of your output, in the length of up to 500 characters, which applies in both language versions. Repeat these steps until all planned outputs are added to your project. Remember the program rule: the project work plan must include at least one output with a positive target value, linked to one of the program output indicators. The selection of RCO87 is compulsory. This is in each program-specific objective the indicator with the ID ending with A. Standard projects must select at least one further output indicator. Not all work packages necessarily are linked with an output. Don't forget to save your work regularly, but at the latest before you move on to the next section, or before you close GEMS.